someone who's been her own boss for 10 years, right? And I've been doing my own thing the way I wanted to do it. And like, I was calling the shots. And suddenly I wouldn't say zero control of my situation. It's not true. I still control a little bit of it. Um, but the choices I make now are, not that easy maybe to make as 10 years ago.
Although I'm a little bit nervous, I think I'm less nervous now.
But like, if you can accept the failures and know their learning processes, then for me, like, that's what it's all about.
Everybody is always in the process of rebuilding.
Key to winning this game is staying in the game.
Welcome back to The Rebuild. My name is Brian, and this is our second founder deep dive session. And today we're going to look at Yael's interview. As you might remember, she's the founder who had to close down her travel business in Shanghai. And as unfortunate as that is, she handles it with grace. And like a true entrepreneur, she's already working on her next project. So in this deep dive session, we have the rare opportunity to peek into the mind of an experienced entrepreneur as they build from the ground up. And I really recommend you pay attention because Yael breaks down her experience, her positive mindsets, and her rebuild process step by step. So we have more founder deep dive sessions coming every week. And of course, the next episode of The Rebuild coming up soon. So make sure you subscribe to catch all of that. Thanks. My name is Brian, and I wish you luck with your rebuilds.
So my name is Yael. I'm an Israeli, born and raised, but living in China for about 10 years now. I moved there in 2010 for a very short job. After that, I decided to stay and start my own business. And my first decision was I want to be my own boss. And then I had to figure out doing what. And and things just started, my first thinking was, okay, what can I use? What can I do? And I realized that the easiest thing would be a tour guide. And that's how I started. And I built my first business in 2010. It took me about 2-3 years, a travel agency.
Wow.
And then the second one I started in 2015, which is the startup that I currently still own. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so you've been there a long time. You've been your business. This version of the business has been in Shanghai for at least 5 years, and you've been in the industry a little bit longer than that. Have you And we already talked several weeks ago, and you said there's a little bit of bad news after this crisis. So what happened? How did it affect you?
So when it all started, I was still optimistic that okay, maybe by June-ish we'll be able to go back to work, to business. But the travel industry at large is going to suffer a lot from this already. They already do. And the specific segment that I am in, which is China inbound. So we do only tours for people who are traveling into China, and it's mostly foreigners, not locals. So that specific segment will going to take probably longer, if not the longest, to start again. And so for us, it was okay. It looks like we need to close down. And so I actually sent out the official email and put it on our Facebook page and everything only yesterday. It took me some time to really, build it up and kind of feel okay about it. Yeah. And I sent it out yesterday, and I told people we're not going to make it, which is, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing much I can do about it.
So yeah, I think what's interesting, it's terrible. But I think what's interesting is that you have the thought you really are rebuilding from zero almost, right? Whatever you do next, you're going to have to be thinking about it in completely a whole new way. And, obviously we don't know where you're going to go and what you're going to do. And if you take a job or what, I guess maybe that's kind of interesting to talk about now is how are you thinking about your options, or is that too soon? Are you still just giving yourself some time to take a step back?
Listen, we've been in this from late January, right?
Mhm.
So it's 3 months, no, 2 months, 2.5, almost 3 months,
Yeah.
right? Into this. I had enough time to, take a step back and think things through. That's it. No, I think I'm just recovering now from that shock. But I forced myself to sit down, and I did that with a pen and paper, which is the best for me sometimes to do. And like, okay, just throw everything on the paper, right? Just write everything down. What are the options? Sort of like a brainstorming of not just the options, but also how I feel about them, what I want, what I'm even considering as, something that I can do or want to do. And what is more important, can or want, right? Because we're not in regular times. So it's not just, what I want to do, which would be in a normal, great world, but also what I should do, maybe. Which could be, which could mean some, how do you say now?
Yeah, it's
That
it's
would be
a difficult
word.
sacrifice or
Compromising.
compromise that might need to happen.
It could be compromising. It could mean compromising, and I'm not used to it. Someone who's been her own boss for 10 years, right? And I've been doing my own thing the way I wanted to do it. And I was calling the shots. And suddenly I wouldn't say zero control on my situation. It's not true. I still control a little bit of it. But the choices I make now are, not that easy maybe to make as
Yeah.
10 years ago.
What are you considering then? Have you like narrowed that list down from that brainstorm?
I sat down and I was like, okay, what do I need to do to find a job at someone else's company? Like, what is the type of job that I want to do? And,
Wow.
and that was strange. That was weird. Like, I haven't sent my CV to anyone for 10 years, right? I didn't try to look for jobs. I didn't even know what was out there that would be right. So that was a very interesting process.
Wow.
Find those jobs and try to figure out what I can do. And then I started sending out some CVs and asking friends for help, making the connections. And almost every company that I contacted with said, listen, because of the situation right now, we're not hiring. So everything is put on hold. And I was like, okay. So I was happy to go back to the world that I know. Let's build another thing, right? Let's do, that's been there. I've done that. I love doing. So, okay. But then what do you build now? And I actually had a really good opportunity. So the first thing I did was reaching out to my network, to the people that I already know, and kind of started asking around, what are you doing and where you're at and what's going on with your businesses now or with your companies. And so you get a lot of conversation going on and a lot of ideas thrown into, the air. And it's really nice. I love that.
Yeah.
And so at some point I met with someone that I knew for a few years, but I actually had no idea what he was doing. I know him from a group of friends, so different circumstances, not business. And he's in education, but a lot of corporate training and those kind of things. And he used to do offline events, right? That's what they do usually. And he was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do now. And I was like, well, you have to go online. You don't have any other choice, right? He was like, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. He's like, you know what? Maybe I can help you. And so we started building a new project. It's a part-time job for me right now.
Cool.
Don't know how much we're going to make out of it, but we are building something. So it's nice, actually. It's nice to have, a project to deal with.
But I really admire your kind of like optimism and willingness to spot an opportunity and to just like to go with it, even though it's in an industry that's completely different. That's really, really cool. I mean, I'm in the training and I'm in the training business. And so I've seen a lot of that stuff. And personally, I was like, I know how to do it, obviously. And I'm like, I don't want to, so I have a different take on it. But just to see like it's like, yeah, this and this, we could make that happen, right?
And then
Yeah,
you're like
you know,
taking
it's a project.
responsibility too. That's
Kind
fantastic.
of like I started looking again, and I do it anyways once in a while. I'm looking at my toolbox. That's how I call it, right? Like I'm looking at what I have. What do I have that I can use, that I can leverage, that I can, do something with? And one of the things that I started was a Facebook group. It's a bit more focused on the Jewish communities because I'm pretty much involved in my community in Shanghai, not so much in a religion way, but am involved in the more social, let's say, the social part of the community or communities that we have. And so I thought, why not bringing all of these people into like one place? So I started sort of an online community, which is currently all of the people who are connected to me somehow, who've been connected with me in different ways before. And so we have a Facebook group. I have a newsletter that's coming out every week. I've got a WhatsApp group of different people who just approach and said, let's keep in touch. There's no business in it, but I'm having a lot of fun managing it so far. So
Like another thing I noticed here is that you're just, you're a great connector, right? And you see these opportunities. And the thing I said right at the beginning, you're such a people person. Like you immediately have this like charisma and charm. And it's like, it's so apparent in what you're doing and what you're talking about. I didn't even think of it, but like,
well, I love people.
That's, I mean, it shows. You can really see that. And what I really like here is that with this, especially as kind of a passion project, you're not thinking like, oh, I have to monetize it or I have to do something with this. This is just like what I want to do out of the kind of the goodness of my own heart, or just how I feel, right? So that's really cool.
At least I'm keeping busy. So
that's right. I mean, I think you gave up that kind of vibe. We were trying to meet up after we first met for some coffee. And we never could just because you were always busy. I was always busy. I mean, you gave that impression that you're always busy. And I was like, okay, she's a go-getter. she's busy. She's doing stuff. So, I mean, you said it a little bit already. How do you feel about the future? Maybe just in the next couple weeks or months, like, how do you feel about it? Are you positive? You seem pretty positive. So how does it feel?
I'm trying to keep that. I try to keep positive and keep reminding myself that there was never certainty in anything, right? I'm sure you would identify with that too. Even when you started your business and you thought that, of course, I'm going to make it, right? Like, who's going to say otherwise, right? Of course, you knew that you're going to make it, ish. But it was the circumstances felt a bit more secure, and I think we've lost that. It's not secure, and it's really the uncertainty now. The levels of it is much higher than in any normal time. So I do try to keep positive, because I think for me, when I sat down and I thought with myself about the options, I was like, okay, what would be the worst thing that can happen? What would be the worst thing? I won't have a job. I won't be able to, to make a salary or money, whatever it is, in a few more months. What would that mean? That would mean that I'll have to close everything and, maybe give up my apartment even in Shanghai. And I might need to go back home to mom and dad for a few months. And that's not easy. That's not easy to think about. But if that's the worst, scenario, I can still live with that. It's fine. It's okay. And I think that when I realized that, it's like, okay, I can still do it. Then it's fine. That it helps me keep positive. It's okay. And, for me, it's about thinking of what I can do. If I'll, give time and space and place to what I cannot do, if I spend my energy on that, then that won't help me.
Yeah,
so I try. Yeah, exactly. So it does happen. I cannot say no, that it doesn't, right? That it will be a lie. So I give it, the time. So, okay, now I'm in that mood that I need to think, about the worst things, about the bad things. Okay. Okay. It has its place. I'll put it aside now and let's go back thinking about what I can do. And so I think it's I wouldn't say a daily struggle, it's a weekly struggle, let's say. But you know, it's a
Yeah.
process.
It's a process. I think, everybody is going, from one end of the spectrum to the other end, and just kind of going somewhere in between. I think it's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, because maybe, that's why I wanted to share or create the show, is just because maybe what we project out to everybody is just like, positivity and everything like that. But there's so much uncertainty and there's so much things that are out of our control, and just like accepting that and being open about it and acknowledging it just makes everybody else realize, like, I don't always have to be, that version of me, and the reality of
Exactly.
life is these kind of like ebbs and flows. That's really cool. So how about like and we're going to talk again in a month. What do you think, what is your goal, or what are you looking forward to in the next month? What are you going to be working on most?
I think the education project is going to take most of my time. I'm looking forward to it. It builds up to be something very interesting. So I really hope that we'll be able to build it and really start, working and doing something. And we'll be able to find a first client even. So if that will happen in the next month, that will be amazing. And I'm going to keep spending my time on those different groups that I'm in right now, because every day people are sharing new ideas and new practices and new things that they're doing. And so, it's a really great pool of new ideas, and you never know what you can get out of this. And so I really enjoy that too. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's very exciting. I wish you luck. I can't wait to hear how things evolve. With this situation and with entrepreneurship, we just know, like, nothing goes according to plan and anything can happen. And, and so I'm curious to hear, because I feel like you're such a business oriented person, you probably build something else. So I'm really curious to see what else you'll be cooking up. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think that's it. Everybody is always in the process of rebuilding.
There was never certainty in anything.
But like, if you can accept the failures and know they're learning processes, then for me, like, that's what it's all about.
Key to winning this game is staying in the game.
Although I'm a little bit nervous, I think I'm less nervous now. And
not only my project is growing, but I'm growing with the project.
All right, let's wrap this up.